The Price of Silence. Tonight's story is about a loyal friend's trust being shattered by greed and the chilling karma that followed. Welcome back to Dark Tales with David. I'm your old friend David Miller, and tonight we dive into a story that begins with friendship but ends in betrayal. Alex and Ryan had been inseparable since childhood. Growing up in the same small town, they were more like brothers than friends. Alex was thoughtful and kind, often looking out for Ryan, who was a little reckless but full of charm. People in town would often say, "Those two will either conquer the world together or destroy each other." As they grew older, their bond only seemed stronger. Alex studied business and worked tirelessly to build a small logistics company from scratch. Ryan, meanwhile, bounced from job to job, never settling, but always leaning on Alex for advice and sometimes money. Alex never hesitated. He trusted Ryan with his life. One evening, Ryan showed up at Alex's office with an idea. "Listen, brother," he said, flashing his signature grin. "I found a deal that could double your business overnight, but I need you to trust me, like you always have." Alex hesitated. He had seen Ryan's impulsive side lead to trouble before, but his loyalty overpowered his doubt. "If you think it's worth it, I'm in," Alex said, signing the documents Ryan placed in front of him. For Alex, it wasn't just business. It was a chance to help his friend prove himself. For Ryan, it was something darker, a temptation that would soon test the limits of their brotherhood. Little did Alex know, the decision he made that night would become the first step into the cruelest betrayal of his life. At first, everything seemed perfect. The deal that Ryan had brought to Alex looked like it was paying off. New clients came in, contracts were signed, and Alex's logistics company began to expand beyond what he had imagined. Ryan walked around the office as though he owned it, shaking hands and making promises, basking in the glow of success. Alex felt proud. Finally, he thought, Ryan is proving himself. He would watch his friend laughing with employees, always the life of the room, and remind himself that trusting Ryan had been the right choice. But within weeks, small cracks began to show. Suppliers complained of delayed payments, clients called with unmet promises, and invoices started piling up. Alex, who had always been meticulous, couldn't understand how things were unraveling so quickly. One night, long after the office had closed, Alex stayed back to review the accounts. That's when his chest tightened. Large sums of money were missing. Funds had been moved from company accounts into an unknown account. At first he thought it must be an error, a clerical mistake. But the more he dug, the clearer the truth became. The account belonged to Ryan. Alex felt the room spin. His hands trembled as he whispered, "No, not Ryan." He wouldn't. He wanted to believe there was an explanation, some misunderstanding. The bond they shared was too deep, too unshakable, for Ryan to betray him like this. The next morning, Alex confronted Ryan. "Tell me it isn't true," he said, his voice raw. "Tell me you didn't take from me." Ryan didn't flinch. Instead, he smirked and leaned back in his chair. "Alex, you're too soft. I just took what I deserved. You built this company, sure, but I made it bigger. I deserve my share, more than my share." The words hit Alex harder than any punch. Betrayal wasn't just in the missing money, it was in Ryan's eyes, cold and unapologetic. For the first time, Alex realized the town's old saying had been right. They would not conquer the world together. Ryan had chosen destruction. And Alex had no idea just how far that destruction was about to go. Ryan's betrayal didn't stay hidden for long. Within weeks, whispers spread through town. Suppliers weren't being paid, employees were threatening to quit, and clients were pulling out of contracts. Alex, who had once been respected for his honesty and reliability, was suddenly painted as careless and greedy. It was Ryan who fueled the fire. Behind closed doors, he twisted the narrative. To suppliers, he said Alex was gambling away profits. To employees, he whispered that Alex no longer cared about their future. At community gatherings, Ryan put on his most sympathetic face and said, "I wish I could do more, but Alex has lost his way." Alex felt the walls closing in. The same neighbors who used to greet him warmly now avoided his gaze. Former friends looked at him with suspicion. At night, he sat alone in his darkened home, staring at the ledgers, wondering how everything had crumbled so fast. One evening, desperate for answers, Alex returned to the office earlier than usual. That's when he caught Ryan in the conference room, laughing with a group of investors. "Gentlemen," Ryan was saying, "Alex is finished. From now on, I'll be running things. You'll get real profits under me." Alex stood frozen at the doorway. The man he had trusted with his life wasn't just stealing, he was replacing him. His blood ran cold as Ryan noticed him and smirked, the same cruel smile he had given during their confrontation. "See," Ryan said to the investors, "the poor man can't even speak for himself anymore." Humiliation burned in Alex's chest. Betrayal wasn't just private, it was public. Ryan had turned his loyalty into weakness, his trust into a weapon. That night, Alex walked home under the streetlights, the weight of shame heavy on his shoulders. He wondered if his parents, long gone, could see him now. They had taught him to believe in friendship, to value trust, and now those very lessons had left him broken. But as much as Ryan thought he had won, life had a way of balancing debts. Karma was patient, and it was watching. What would you do if someone you trusted like family betrayed you in such a cruel way? Would you confront them, walk away, or wait for life to deal its justice? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you'd do. The days that followed were unbearable for Alex. His once bustling office grew quiet as more employees abandoned him for Ryan's promises. Contracts dissolved, calls went unanswered, and Alex's reputation, carefully built over decades, collapsed like sand slipping through fingers. At home, silence was louder than any noise. The phone hardly rang anymore, except for debt collectors or suppliers demanding payment. His savings dwindled as he tried to keep up with the chaos Ryan had left behind. One evening, Alex received a letter. It wasn't from a lawyer or a creditor. It was from Ryan himself. A short, sharp message that cut deeper than any blade. "Stop fighting what's already lost. Step aside. The future belongs to me now." Alex crumpled the letter in his trembling hands. His chest ached, not from the financial loss, but from the betrayal. He had raised Ryan like a brother, trusted him with everything, and this was the repayment? Humiliation, lies, and abandonment? The breaking point came when Alex visited the old workshop, the place where he and Ryan had built their dreams from nothing. Dust clung to the shelves, machines sat idle, and tools rusted with neglect. Memories of laughter and shared visions filled the room, but they now felt like ghosts mocking him. He sank into a chair, burying his face in his hands. For the first time, Alex allowed himself to cry, not out of weakness, but out of grief. He cried for the friend he had lost, for the dreams stolen from him, and for the man he no longer recognized in the mirror. But beneath the sorrow, something else stirred. A spark. A voice within him whispered, "This is not the end." Alex realized that though Ryan had taken his business, his name, and his trust, he hadn't taken his will. He still had his knowledge, his integrity, and most importantly, his ability to rebuild. And deep down, he knew something Ryan didn't. Betrayal carries a price, and no thief escapes the weight of karma forever. Alex stood, wiped his tears, and walked out of the workshop. For now he would endure, but patience was his weapon, and time would deliver justice. Months passed, and Ryan basked in the glow of his stolen empire. Parties, luxury cars, expensive suits, he flaunted it all. To outsiders, he was the golden boy who had built success with his own two hands. But behind closed doors, cracks began to show. Investors grew impatient. Promises Ryan had made to lure them in began to crumble when he failed to deliver. His arrogance blinded him. His greed made him careless, and one by one, those who had once praised him began to turn away. Alex, meanwhile, stayed quiet. He didn't seek revenge through anger or reckless acts. He let time do the work. He started small, taking consulting jobs, slowly regaining his footing. He rebuilt his reputation piece by piece, earning back the trust that Ryan had shattered. And then it happened. News broke that Ryan's company was under investigation. Fraud, embezzlement, false accounting. The empire he had stolen was rotting from within. Ryan's name, once glowing in headlines, was now dragged through mud. Alex watched from a distance. There was no satisfaction in seeing Ryan fall, only a solemn recognition of truth. Betrayal carries its own punishment. Ryan tried to escape the storm, blaming employees, blaming circumstances, but no excuse could save him. One by one, those who had followed him abandoned him, just as he had abandoned Alex. He ended up alone, surrounded not by friends or family, but by silence. Alex stood outside the courthouse the day Ryan was taken in. He didn't approach, didn't speak, didn't gloat. He simply whispered to himself. Karma never forgets. As Ryan was led away in handcuffs, their eyes met briefly. Ryan's expression was not one of anger, but of hollow realization. He understood, too late, that in betraying Alex, he had destroyed himself. Alex turned and walked away, the weight of grief still in his chest, but lighter now. The scars of betrayal would remain, but so would the strength he found through Dorrance. And as he walked into the evening light, Alex knew one thing. No matter how deep betrayal cuts, truth and patience will always outlast lies. My friends, that is the story of Alex and Ryan. A tale of trust broken, of friendship shattered, and of karma's quiet hand bringing balance in the end.